Hi, everybody. So, today I'm going to be talking about this amazing book, Lady Doctors: The Untold Stories of India's First Women in Medicine. It's written by Kavitha Rao, who's a London based journalist and author. Kavitha has given a vivid description of the lives of six women majorly back in the 19th century, how they battled numerous hardships and forayed into the world of medical education. As a woman and as a doctor, I'm obviously very well aware of the struggles that we go through on a daily basis, right? But this book actually gave me perspective of the worst that it was that women have had, the worst time that women have seen. The modern woman may be struggling for pay parity at her workplace, but women in the 19th century, they were denied basic human rights. Education was deemed completely unnecessary. They were all caught in the web of the social evil of child marriage, and they were hardly permitted to even leave their houses. In the middle of all this, medical education was something that women could only dream about. This book sheds light on the women pioneers of medical education in India, who were the first to get up, struggle, persevere, and attain medical education for themselves, opening doors for many other women to follow. These women battled the barriers of religion, caste impediments, fought against patriarchy, struggled for so many things that you and me as women today take for granted. And had it not been for these women, you and me as women would not be standing where we are today. Every Indian female doctor or medical student owes their opportunity to these women pioneers. Kavitha Rao has in particular spoken about six women: Anandibai Joi, Kadambini Ganguli, Rukmabai Roth, Haimabati Sen, Mutu Lakshmi Redi, and Mary Poonam Lukosi. She's also spoken about the status of medical education at the global level and the opportunities available in that time, and who were the women who actually created those opportunities for other women. It was around 1865 that Elizabeth Backwell, who was British by birth, she became the first US woman doctor. She was backed by a progressive father and wrote to 29 medical schools, but none of them took her in. And finally, it was the 30th school, Geneva Medical School, who agreed to admit her. There's a mention of bullying by the male counterparts when it comes to the lives of many of the women detailed in the book. Bullying to the degree of not being able to study, not being able to take their exams, having to give up on gold medals in spite of deserving them. It's so admirable that these women managed to stand straight in the face of so much bullying and made their way through it. Elizabeth Backwell spoke extensively about the rights of women, and along with one of her students, Sophia Jex Blake and Elizabeth Garrett Anderson, she opened the London School of Medicine, which was the first college exclusively for women. This was back in 1874, and the London School of Medicine went on to train many women from all over the world, including Rukmabai Roth from India. There's also mention of the Edinburgh Seven, a group of seven women who underwent a lot of discrimination meted out to them by their male peers. In fact, there was a surgeons' hall riot, and they were not allowed by a group of 100 men to cross over to the surgeons' hall to take an anatomy exam. These seven women were also denied their degrees in spite of completing their entire course, and it was only in 2019 that they were granted their degrees. You can see this plaque. In today's time, this plaque commemorates the whole episode. Anandibai Joi was the first Indian woman to become a doctor. She was born in 1865 in Pune, married off at the age of 9 to a 26-year-old man, Gopal Rao Joshi. She became a mother at the age of 13, but lost her son 10 days later. Her husband was an abusive man, but strangely obsessed with her education, even though her own father opposed her education. After a long struggle, which is detailed beautifully in the book, we get to know that she managed to go to the College of Pennsylvania and she secured a 2-year MD from there. What was fascinating for me was that she did not undergo any kind of cultural makeover in these 2 years that she was there. Whether it was in terms of food choices, in which she remained a strict vegetarian, or it was the choice of her clothes. She kept wearing saris for the entire duration. She graduated in 1886, but unfortunately she was not able to practice despite a lucrative offer because she had been battling ill health ever since she lost her child. She passed away in 1887. She was only 22. After Anandibai Joi, we have a chapter dedicated to Kadambini Ganguli. Kadambini Ganguli was the first woman doctor to practice in India. She was born in 1862 in Bihar. Her father was part of the Brahmo movement and, being a progressive, supported her education. She was married off at the age of 21 to 39-year-old Dwarkanath Ganguli. Now, theirs was a marriage which was centered around intellectual growth, built on mutual respect. She went on to graduate from Bengal Medical College. Apart from routine, everyday struggles reserved for women of those times, she also faced a lot of backlash over her character, with her husband coming to her rescue. And later on, she went to secure 3 diplomas: the Licentiate of the Royal College of Physicians, Licentiate of the Royal College of Surgeons, and Licentiate of the Faculty of Physicians and Surgeons. She remained relatively unknown for years. However, there is a ward in Calcutta Medical College, a neonatal medical ward to be precise, which is named after her. The third pioneer, detailed in Kavitha Rao's book, is Rukhmabai Roth, who was born in 1864 in Bombay. Unlike Anandibai Joi and Kadambini Ganguli, Rukhmabai Roth was from a historically oppressed caste, while the former two had the privilege of being born into upper castes. Now, both Anandibai Joi and Kadambini Ganguli, they were backed by the supportive husbands. But this was not the case with Rukhmabai Roth. She had a supportive stepfather in her life. She lost her real father at the age of 2. At the age of 11, she fell prey to child marriage. The good thing was that she was not submissive and she had the clarity that she did not want to go and live with that particular man. Her stepfather also extended complete support in this regard. Kavita goes on to mention the very difficult legal battle that Rukhmabai undertook against her husband, during which she had a strong enemy in Bal Gangadhar Tilak, who printed inflammatory articles against her, targeting her in his 2 papers, Maratha and Kesari. Finally, at the age of 24, she managed to get rid of her husband, studied in the London School of Medicine, where the dean at this time was Elizabeth Anderson. She was also instrumental in being one of the forces behind the Age of Consent Act in 1891. On her return, she was also given charge of a hospital in Surat, which today is named after her. She has mentioned the horrendous environment in which pregnant women were kept in those times. Deliveries had to be carried out in the darkness. Pregnant women had to sleep on the floor. They were not allowed to touch wood for 40 days. Rukhmabai put her mind to ways in which she could mobilize them, empower them. She was also awarded with the Kesari Hind in 1898. She's also known for having spoken out against the Parda system and child marriage. There's also an extensive account in Kavita's book of Haima Bati Sen, who's my personal favorite. Reading her life story literally moved me to tears. There was a huge sense of relief that I felt for not being there in her shoes. I also found myself feeling blessed for the privilege that I have had. At the same time, there was a sinking feeling thinking about the atrocities that she went through. When she was born, she was dressed and treated like a boy. In those times, it was a prevalent notion that if girls will be educated, they will become widows. So because of this, she was denied education and she used to study secretly. Her father was still supportive of her seeking education, but the women in her family, including her mother, they did not like it, they discouraged her and they wanted to marry her off. Her father also could not resist the social pressure and she did get married off at the age of 9. Her husband was a 45-year-old widower with 2 daughters who were of her age. She underwent a lot of physical and emotional torture at her husband's house. She got widowed at the age of 12, after which she came back to her father's house. Over there also, she was not treated with compassion. Once her parents passed away, they were cruel relatives who treated her very badly, and she literally did not have food to eat. So as an orphan, she had no choice but to leave home and fend for herself. And these are the kind of struggles that we cannot even imagine. And if you think that for someone who faced these hardships in her childhood, for her to have persevered, for her to have mustered courage and achieved so much in her life, it's truly incredible. At this time, it was Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar and Raja Ram Mohan Roy who were trying their best to change the laws regarding widow remarriage. And their efforts became fruitful in 1856 when the Widow Remarriage Act was passed. She remarried at the age of 23 and went to Campbell Medical School. There, in her final exam, she had to give up her gold medal just because men had a problem. And there was this collective uproar. She was awarded the VLMS, the Vernacular Licentiate in Medicine and Surgery. She led a poverty stricken life, but in spite of that, she did her own share of philanthropy by caring for and feeding 485 children. Nobody in her family even cared to publish a memoir, which finally got published 80 years after her death. Then there was Mutu Lakshmi Reddy, born in 1886 in Tamil Nadu. She also had to stand up against her female relatives who wanted to marry her off. She had a progressive father. She sought admission in the Maharaja College with special permission of the Raja at that time. She was the first Hindu woman to graduate from the Madras Medical College. Losing her sister to cancer prompted her to work in this direction, and she set up the Adyar Cancer Institute. She also set up Arvai Home for Destitute Girls. Is also credited with the abolition of the Devdasi system. One of the many accolades that she got was becoming a member of the Madras Legislative Council. It was during her time in 1921 that Madras became the first province to allow women to vote as well as contest elections. However, this was a privilege only for married women whose husband owned properties. Towards the end, there is an account of Mary Poonam Lucose, born in the princely state of Travancore, who was the first female Surgeon General, the first woman legislator, and a royal physician. Now, we've all read so much of history in school, right? But we've never really read all this. And all this is so important to know. I strongly believe that when one woman rises up against any kind of injustice, she's doing a favor to all the other women. These are women who deserve to be remembered and honored in every sense. This is a beautiful book. All women and all men must go ahead and read it. As a woman, you're going to feel a range of emotions for all these women. One of the many ways in which we can honor these women is by using our privilege, remaining determined, and not let the hard work of so many women go waste in any way. We must continue to make our mark in society, in science, in literature, in arts, and in every field. And never forget these strong women, ever, ever, ever.